Welcome to Pītau Pūmanawa Grant Subcommittee. Elected members, please let myself or DEM Services know if you intend to leave for any reason. We are going to have some morning tea scheduled in at 10:30 a.m. Me tīmata karakia tātou. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, e hi ake ana te ātākura, he tio, he huka, he hauhunga, si hei a mauri ora. The first item on the agenda will be apologies. We have no apologies. We then move to conflict of interest declarations. Anybody got any? Likely? No? All right. Confirmation of minutes. Thank you. So the motion is on screen, just approving the minutes of the last meeting. I would like to move that motion. Could you please second? Councillor O'Neill, thank you very much. Will there be any debate on that? No. I'd like to put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Please vote. That is carried. There are no items not on the agenda, so we will move directly to public participation. No mai ora mai, Erin Gribble from the Wellington Time Bank. You have 10 minutes, and you'll be speaking to item 2.5, Social and Recreation Fund. Oh my.
How do we get that looking nice? There we go. Kia ora tātou, ko Erin tōku ingoa, and this is Rowena, our kai whakahaere coordinator of the Time Bank. I am the manager there. The Time Bank is sort of a sub-organisation of the Newtown Community Centre. We provide management and some extra additional financial support outside of the support we get from this fund. What is Time Bank? Hopefully you all know, but I'd like to remind you that it's a community of people that share their talents, their knowledge, their skills for time instead of money. Very important at the moment as things are getting tougher. We've got 916 members, including 128 organisations in Wellington, so many of the other organisations that you fund are Time Bank members or that you support in other ways. And that's across 46 suburbs. There's about 22 Time Banks in New Zealand, and we're all pretty connected together through a Aotearoa-wide network. The concept of time banking is rooted in the belief that everybody has something to contribute, regardless of their age, their occupation, or their social status. And it fosters a sense of reciprocity and community by emphasising the importance of mutual support and cooperation. It's intergenerational and it's intercultural. So we just wanted to come here today to say thanks heaps for the funding. We would love that to keep on continuing. We'd love to move to a 3-year funding contract like we used to be on, and we just wanted to sort of say hi and let you know the kinds of things we've been up to recently. So just really recently did a beach cleanup. We had a bunch of people turn up, some time bankers, and like all our events, it's open to anybody. So a lot of other people that then end up becoming time bank members, they came along as well, and we cleaned up down at Oriental Bay. And it was really mixed generational and a lot of different individual trades, people helping each other out with their problems afterwards occurred, and some great social connection. Another really recent event that we were involved in was we were a part of Te Aro Eats at Cuba Duper. Hopefully you stopped by. Over 800 people did, and they were fed amazing kai from all the different, all from the bins, all rescued kai. So Kai Bosch, the free store, Everybody Eats, Seeds to Feeds, Ecta, Kai Cycle, Hopper Refillery, Crop Swap, they were all involved, and all of them except for Ecta are Time Bank members as well. A lot of the volunteers were Time Bank members. We've got Crop Swap. Now, Crop Swap once applied for some funding, I think from this fund, from the Social and Rec Fund for a coordinator, an awesome project that had been going for a long time but needed some sort of admin and coordination support, so they applied for some coordination support and hadn't been too successful. Every month, many people go to exchange crops and to sort of share. Yeah, and so when it didn't achieve that funding, it was like, oh, can this keep on being sustainable? And so the Time Bank came on and has really nurtured some people to become leaders, and now Crop Swap is really, really thriving. So wanted to kind of share that that's another thing that Time Bank does. It really supports other groups to get what they need and to be built up to be able to sustain themselves. And so, yeah, the Time Bank only hosts a crop swap once every 3 months and just kind of checks in on the other people.
Oh, no.
No, yeah. Cool. Then we've got Menstrual Mates. So that's another one that was initially a Time Bank initiative, but has now become a partnership with Endo Warriors and the Sustainability Trust. Again, so that the Time Bank could step away to keep doing more amazing work. So I think Time Bank hosts that every 4 months? Every 2 months, yeah. It's monthly. But we host it every 2 months and just check in and keep supporting it to make sure it goes on. And Menstrual Mates is when a bunch of people get together to talk about menstrual issues and to make menstrual pads and other products. Yeah, and it's a wonderful mixed generational event. And then this is just a random thing that happened the other day. Rowena met randomly with the Dunedin Time Bank coordinator who was in town and popped on in. And they were going to go for lunch, but then 2 Time Bankers said, oh, we're actually harvesting some of our kumara that kind of was this Time Bank sort of project between the 2 of them in Newtown School. Why don't you come up and help? And so they got stuck in digging up some kumara. So just to illustrate that there's all these individual connections and trades that are happening all of the time. So yes, we hold events, but our members are constantly, you know, helping one another out.
Just point out with that one. Just to point out with that one, the kumara is going to go on to a Matariki event at the school. Some of the kumara has been saved as seed to keep growing throughout the community and is shared between different community gardens. And then some of the kumara will go to feed people every Friday, which is a community lunch that is run by a bunch of Time Bankers as well. Yeah, so just a simple event, but the flow-on effect is quite profound in the well-being and impact on other people.
Nice. Thanks, Ro. Cool. So the Social and Recreational Fund, when we look at all of the outcomes of that, we meet so many of them, particularly that different communities are acknowledged and celebrated. That's a huge part of what we do. Particularly that people can acquire knowledge, skills and experiences, and that there are opportunities to connect and engage. So we have given you a bit of a handout which shares quite a few stories of Time Bankers and what they've been up to lately that I think will illustrate that. Also just wanted to acknowledge that with the contract funding strategy, we also feel that we meet a lot of the outcomes and things you're looking for there. So we're really well established. We've been successfully running since 2011 and just growing and growing. We are heaps of bang for your buck. Yeah, anyone, as I said, was welcome to attend your events. It's really quite a small amount of money for the huge amount of impact that the Time Bank has. We collaborate with so many different organisations and we provide so much support to other community groups that we're kind of, I feel, a bit of a core piece of infrastructure in the community scene these days. And also we deliver on a range of your policies and we participate in so many of your council events. So Neighbours Day, Seniors Week, Bee Week, that recent garden, what's it?
Yeah, the garden open.
Garden Open Sundays, the Wellington Resilience Strategy, Ahotini, Social Wellbeing Framework, Positive Ageing Strategy, your long-term plan. So we really feel like we're a really great fit with Wellington City Council. And where's a slide? Dang.
Oh, you didn't.
Ah, but it's all... Why? I would like to illustrate what this slide was supposed to be. It had about 40 different logos of community organisations in Wellington. It was my most impactful slide. I'm really not sure what happened, but it had about 40 logos of all the different community organisations, not all of them, sorry, just some of them that we support. So, yeah.
40 of the 138.
Yeah, 40 of the 138. So just to kind of show you that these are all the people that we work with. So when you support us, you're actually supporting them as well. Yeah. So I wanted to leave some time for questions, and we've got 2 minutes. That was a bit of a ramble. Check us out. Join. We've got a few councillors that are getting signed up, and Julianne Gent is getting signed up next week. So, yeah, come
Fantastic.
get involved as well. Anyone's welcome. But, questions?
Thank you so much. We have one question from Deputy Mayor Foon.
Oh, two Pītau, is that okay? Right. So just with the cost, thank you for your kōrero, and that was enlightening even for me. Just with the cost of living challenges that are going on at the moment, are you noticing a lift in demand, or the need is greater for what Time Bank is offering?
Yeah, definitely. For example, the community lunch has probably doubled. There are definitely a larger group of people who become reliant on the support of others. We've noticed an increase in people joining, and cost saving is one of the things they're talking about. So they're getting people to help them. I mean, for example, I personally am a Time Bank member, and I got someone to fix my bathroom latch. Even if, I can afford to do it, but some people couldn't, but I couldn't even pay someone to do that because it was too small a job for someone to come out. So the sorts of help that people are getting is quite impactful. Our oldest member, who's 90, is a volunteer for Age Concern, so she is able to give meaningfully. She rings around every month, and then when she found out, so she was doing that, she was volunteering, and then she found out that Age Concern was a Time Bank member, and that someone from Te Toi Mahana mentioned to her, you should join the Time Bank, because she was saying how her granddaughter couldn't take her grocery shopping anymore. And she put an ad up, someone immediately responded to it. She lives in not close to a supermarket, so maybe she could have used a bit of her meagre funds to get a taxi to a supermarket, but instead she had someone come pick her up, take her grocery shopping, take her home. Funnily enough, I was telling the story at Age Concern Talk, and she was in the audience, and she said, "Oh, that's me." And she said, "Can you see my hands? I have really bad arthritis." So the person brings the groceries in and lifts them onto the bench, and she's fine from there, but she couldn't lift those bags. So the kind of impact that, and she arranged that for herself. So I think there's dignity. So it's not just cost savings; it's also the well-being impact of being seen and valued. Indeed. And being recognised to have skills, and it's beyond your economic productivity. It's not just what work experience you've had. You might have a passion or interest, and it's fascinating to talk to people. And that's why it's relevant for anybody to join. You know, that's why when I was talking to Julianne Gent, she was like, "Oh, I don't have time," and I was like, "You're the perfect person to use Time Banking. You need help, childcare help, you might need some help in the garden, you're really busy."
Very true. I'm very sorry, we are out of time, but thank you very much indeed. Tēnā kōrua.
Sorry, you didn't get your second question.
Yeah, that's all right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next up, we have Sally Richards representing Tahi, New Zealand Festival of Solo Performance. You also have 10 minutes, and just flick that mic towards you. There we go.
Morena.
Morena.
Atamarie. Ko Sally Richards aho. I am Sally, and I'm the festival director, creator and producer of Tahi New Zealand Festival of Solo Performance. If I had managed to embed in a slideshow my website, I would have. If you want to look at it as a point of reference whilst I speak, it is tahifestivalnz.com. I'm here to give you a little bit of overview and context to my application this year. So Tahi New Zealand Festival of Solo Performance is a theatre festival that celebrates and highlights storytelling through the single performer on stage. We began in 2019, excuse me, at BATS, and we hit our 5th birthday in 2023. We had started as a 3-day festival at BATS Theatre. By 2023, we were across 3 venues over 2 weeks. We've had exponential growth. And in part, that growth is to do with Wellington City Council's support, which has been there right from the beginning. We've had really good relationships with the arts advisors here at Wellington City Council, and they've been part of our success. The festival is about storytelling. It tells the stories of this city and other cities. It's about sharing stories. It's about supporting artists in their supporting artists to tell those stories. It's about developing audiences to come and receive those very diverse stories from our community. It's about sustainable careers. So there's a lot of support for those artists and their teams. They're not just one person. They don't arrive on stage as one person. They have a team behind them. Our festival has grown from a 3-person team to a 20-person team each year. So we're supporting them. We run workshops that engage with practitioners and with audiences and with the greater arts community in Pōneke and beyond. We have a special focus on rangatahi, which supporting solo performance for younger audiences, from very small people to teenagers as well. We also have an emerging artists program called Hatch, and this is for sort of 18 to 25-year-olds who present their own solo shows at our festival each year. So that's a picture of the festival, and if you look on the website, there's lots of archives that show what the program looked like. Last year we had a beautiful new commissioned play at Circa called Ono, which was by Māori and Pacifica writers, each writing a little monologue. We also presented verbatim with Renee Lyons. So as we came to 2024, we realised that perhaps we had a need to consolidate our work. So we had been doing all this work with accessibility for our festival around the PO of the festival. So environmental sustainability, accessibility, inclusivity, work with rangatahi. And what we needed to do is to take a hiatus, and our festival became biennial. Thus, my face is here, and I'm much more relaxed and able to engage, have some time to engage with people. During this year, we're consolidating our policies around those PO, but we're also keen to having these activations, which keeps the brand of Tahi Festival alive, keeps our relationships connected, and also sets up some things for following years. And I'm just going to talk to those 3 things because this is what I have applied for funding to support. So those activations this year is a Hatch alumni event. So that's bringing together the 50 young people that have come through the festival in the last 5 years, are coming together, and we're sort of having a hui that sort of tracks their progress. Where have they gone from Tahi Festival out into the world? And we're also looking at how we can improve that program for the emerging artists. So that's going to be at Te Awaha, which is one of our partners, along with Toi Whakaari and Te Heranga Waka, Victoria University. That's where those young people come from. The second activation is a festival's hui. So as somebody who started a festival from scratch, I realise how important for our city it is for us to connect and learn from each other and have some advocacy and share our resources. So I've been working over the last couple of years on this idea of bringing festivals together, and I'm starting here in Pōneke with all our arts festivals here. I've had really positive feedback that this is a great idea. We're coming together, we're going to talk, we're going to work out what we could do collectively for our community, because we really, we want to sell Pōneke as our arts capital, and we want to strengthen what we do, and we can share our kaupapa. If I've done work with environmental sustainability with my festival, how can I share that with Messina Festival? Or, how can I sell it with the new Wellington Puppetry Festival? So it's about sharing that information. The third thing that we are doing is we have a lovely partnership with Atawhai Festival. So Atawhai Festival is all about the contribution of arts to well-being in Hawara in our communities, and for those practitioners delivering that. So Atawhai Festival's been around since 2015. It had unfortunately, it didn't function over COVID, but it's coming back. It's doing 3 centres around the Motu, 1 in Wellington. It's partnering with Tahi Festival. And so the focus of that festival over 2 days is to provide support to arts practitioners to make sure that their well-being is looked after and finding safe sort of practices, and especially for the solo performer. As you can imagine, whilst they do have a team, they also work in some isolation. That's what we want to do this year, to keep us in the public eye and to continue to support artists and generate audiences. We're also looking further ahead this year, and I just want to advocate for Tahi Festival in that how much we would benefit from contract funding. We do a lot of work with funding diversification, but if only we could look further ahead and have some security, that would be so helpful to us. We're a charitable trust, and we have really good governance and a really wonderful board. Thank you for taking the time to listen and learn a little bit more. The website's really great if you want an overview of what we're doing. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much indeed. There is one from Councillor O'Neill.
Kia ora, Sally. Thank you. I just had a question around the Hatch event. So you've applied for 10,800 and received 3,600. What does that how does that split affect the Hatch event, and are you able to still kind of carry things out?
So I'm receiving 3,000 something for across all 3 events, because the amount I've applied for is across 3 events.
Oh, yep, I see. Aha.
So if there was a reduction of a third, then I think I have stated what it might look like. We would look for venue support from the venues that we're using, something like the Festival Hui. Some of these things could be online, but we're really trying to connect. We know how much better those connections are when we're present and with each other. I think in my application I do offer up some things that could happen if we didn't get that amount of money.
Cool. Thank you.
Any further questions, councillors? We have 50 seconds. No? In that case, thank you very much. Nē rā te mihi. Thank you for coming. Up next, we have Richard John Kirby, who will be speaking on behalf of Wellington North Badminton with regard to 2.4, the Sportsville Partnership Fund. And my apologies on also Leslie Gledhill. Welcome. You have 10 minutes. Feel free to leave some time at the end for questions.
Kia ora koutou. I'm Richard Kirby from Wellington North Badminton, and I've only recently joined Wellington North as their general manager after being a badminton player for around 35 years. So I'm now living my dream. I'm a professional athlete. Today we're here to talk about the Sportsville Fund, our facilities in urgent need of a roof repair replacement, so we can continue the great work we're doing with badminton and all the other community groups that we host at our centre. I'll just pass you over to Leslie, who will talk through a little bit about the history of Wellington North, and then I'll summarise what we're doing now.
Hi, so Wellington North was a sub-association of Wellington. We're just coming up to 50 years of being a full association. Our hall was built by volunteers, overseen by a family who ran a building company. The official opening was in 1999, but the bare shell was used from 1996, with the interior fit-out completed as funds allowed. We operated as a volunteer committee until 2018, when we took the plunge to employ a general manager. We now operate as a board. In April, Badminton New Zealand held their Hui and AGM in our lounge. The CEO described our association as a high-performing association with great governance and leadership in place. But as a board, we also take our community responsibility seriously, looking for opportunities to maximise the use of our facilities from a wide variety of people or groups. While badminton is our core business, we have always recognised that our facility should be out there for any sports or other groups that need it.
So what we do at Wellington North Badminton, other than badminton, is we now run a pickleball club, and we have 2 sessions a week, looking at a third. That's built up from nothing and no players 2 years ago to having between 35 and 50 players coming on every session. The good thing about the pickleball is it's become a real community group that come along, and they go upstairs, bring morning tea and socialise for a good half hour afterwards as well. So it's not all about the sport, it's actually a social gathering and opportunity for those players and people to connect. We are also looking to run some tournaments and events, and pickleball as a sport is one of the world's fastest growing sports globally. Other things we do at our centre is Red Cross run first aid courses every week, sometimes 2 days, sometimes 3 days a week. They hire our lounge. They run first aid essential, first aid comprehensive, first aid save a life, and do refresher courses. So we're really blessed with having lots of first aiders on site, being a sporting facility. One of the other groups that's a regular tenant, a regular user of our facility, is the Tawa Taekwondo Club. So they have a room in our centre. They've been based at Wellington North Badminton for over 20 years. They run kids classes, 2 per week, adults classes, black belt training, and then twice a year they actually hire the whole facility, all the courts, and run a regionalised grading session as well. With badminton, our bread and butter, we have over 3,600 court bookings per month. We're very busy. Over 3,000 registered players, 9 affiliated clubs. We're running Learn to Play adult classes. We run around about 2 a week, and we're also doing Learn to Play classes for children. We have a bronze, silver and gold framework. It's an international curriculum, and we have over 250 children learn to play badminton every week at our centre. In the holiday period, we run holiday programs where parents can leave their kids with us, and we run a shuttle time for 3 hours. But we also have another program that we run with the Tawa Tennis and Tawa Squash Club, so children can do all 3 different racket sports within one day. We host regular inter-association events, which brings a lot of players from outside the Wellington region here. And we had our Wellington North Open at the end of March, where we had 7 of the top 10 ranked players in New Zealand playing at our centre. We also host other regionalised, sanctioned and North Island national events. The Wellington North Open, we actually had over 100 players who were from outside the capital region attend this year. It was one of the biggest attended tournaments on the Badminton New Zealand calendar. Other things we do at our centre is we have a boardroom, and we allow community groups and other places to use our rooms. So we have regularly the Motor Trade Association, Tawa Tennis, Tawa Squash use our rooms for meetings. We've had the Tawa Business Group recently. Badminton New Zealand hosted their national AGM Hui. We also had the Wellington Council Granada meeting at our centre the other week. And we do allow players and community members to hire our centre for birthday celebrations, baby showers, sports club meetings, and Tawa Swim Club held their awards session at the end of last year at our centre as well. The reason we're here today is from, obviously, Leslie told you about when our centre was built. Our roof is over 25 years old and does need urgent repair or replacement. We've looked at different cost options. We looked at a cost to replace and a cost to repair with a recoating, with giving us a 10 to sort of 15-year life extension. We've opted to look at the repair recoat option. We feel that's a more cost-effective option for ourselves and a lot more sustainable in terms of the material being reused and not wasted, as well as if we re-roofed, we would have to take our centre out of action for 2 to 3 months. Doing it this way, we can continue all the programs, all the badminton, pickleball, taekwondo, without any disruption to our players. I guess thank you so much for your time today. Have you got anything else to add, Lisa?
Only that the roof, there's only one section of the roof that is rusting. It seems, being a volunteer build, that it wasn't quite fitted out correctly. So most of the roof is fine, but we've got buckets to catch water, and there's this have to address this rusting area. And the coating that we're looking at will stop the rust and add a membrane over the top. So we could get 20 years out of it, we're hopeful. But it doesn't make sense to re-roof because of the fact that most of the roof is absolutely fine.
Thank you. We do have 3 councillors on the list for questions. First of all, Councillor Young.
Good morning, thank you. Could you tell me, what is pickleball?
As a very big in America. It's like paddle tennis, maybe. So you play on a badminton court, but the net is dropped to tennis level. You play with a paddle and a round ball that has holes in it.
Sounds fun.
So the idea is that anyone can play, and we're finding that a lot of people who've played at high level sport and have knee replacement, hip replacements and things like that can actually come and play pickleball. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Inclusive of family as well.
Our next question is from Pōiwi Hohaya.
Kia ora, thank you for that. Just a quick one around the total cost. Are you looking at other potential sources of funding for the total cost?
Yes, we are. We're applying for other funding support from other funders currently.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is from Deputy Mayor Foon.
And just to back up, Pōiwi Hohaya, are you confident that you can get that other extra amount?
We'd like to say yes, we are confident. We do have some funds that we have built up that we could commit as well. We have a building fund, but obviously it's got lots of areas that we need to spend it on. So yeah.
We have had some initial talks with one funder, and they said that our application would be looked at favourably. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Kia ora.
And finally, one question from Councillor Chung.
Great, thanks very much for coming in. Can you tell me, these sports that are using your centre, the badminton and pickleball, are they run all year round or are they seasonal?
Yeah, all year round.
All right, there are no further questions. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you very
Tēnā
much.
kōrua. Next up, we have Sue Gill, or Jill, my apologies if I mispronounced that, from Netball Wellington Centre to speak to the same item. Nau mai haramai, you have 10 minutes. Feel free to leave time at the end for questions.
Kia ora, it is Gil. Well done. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Sue Gil, toka ingoa. I'm the General Manager of Netball Wellington Centre, and I'm thanking you for allowing me to present. Who is Netball Wellington? We've 107 years old as an entity, and we're just slightly older than Netball New Zealand, who celebrated their 100th birthdays yesterday, so it's nice to be older than our Mother Earth. We have sporting opportunities for 5,000 plus people. That doesn't include our spectators. We have competitions and netball opportunities all year round for ages 5 to 75. The 75 ones is low impact netball, just so you know that we don't sort of batter them around on a Saturday on the courts. All genders and nationalities, abled and disabled. We have leadership opportunities on and off the court. We have board interns around our board table. We create captains. We have a rangatahi leadership program as well, which has 3 tiers to it. We provide scholarship opportunities in regards to supporting our young wahine when they're going to a university or the Tania Dalton Foundation, so we're very proactive in that area as well. We provide a safe and healthy environment for our community to participate and observe our sport in action. That's the one we have a little bit of an issue with our roof. Opportunities for people to socialise and feel part of something using our sport as the vehicle. We have cross-code opportunities where we have coaching workshops and official workshops and have a-go sessions with other sporting codes throughout the Wellington region. We have other people utilising our facility, and that can be sporting groups, recreational groups and education groups. And some of those are Wellington softball, Black Sox softball, beach volleyball, beach handball, gymnastics, New Zealand floorball, Wellington Storm floorball, Thai community, Pacific Island Church Group, Wellington East School, Wellington College, Forest and Bird, Primary Sport Wellington, Brooklyn School, Ori's Rugby Club, Mutakarangi Netball, the Tongan Netball, Whanamanaki Kindergartens and Wellington City Council. Our building was built in 1972 with extensions and alterations in 1985 and 1993, so our roof is quite old. In the past 10 years, we've worked closely with Wellington City Council around the maintenance and upkeep of our facility. We've completed the following renovations to keep it up to spec and code, and that includes heat pump installations of 14.5k, a boardroom. We had a leaky window that was put on an angle, should never have been consented to, and we've had ongoing leaking issues since it was installed, basically. So that just had to be completely removed and new walls installed. So that was quite a massive project at 53k. And then following on from that, unfortunately, we found two of our massive large 6-pane windows had rotten beams holding the windows in. So we've just had to recently remove those at $35,000. We've installed new LED lightings in the main lounge area and rewired. We had to install 5 new fire exit doors. And my goodness, that gave us a shock, 8.5k for them to be fully spec for fire standards. New sound system, rust-proof and main metal beam underneath, and we had a major leak from a downpipe right through the middle of the building that also hit us. So recently we've just sort of parted out 85 to 90k in that. We got a report in 2010 that highlighted the roof needed to be done, but these other things have cropped up. And also back in 2010, our entity was horrendously in the red. And it's embarrassing standing up here having to say this. Over that 10 years, we've been able to build up some reserves to actually help us do the things that I've just mentioned above. And we've still got some money in reserves and we can put money towards this project. But when we got the quote of $279,000 for this re-roof, due to the height of it, the scaffolding and the angles in it, unfortunately, we all went into shock, to be perfectly honest, and are now going, right, we have to fund this. It's 10 years of plastering and putting Band-Aids on leaks, and you know, it's leaks that are leaking in areas that going upstairs, there's leaks coming down the steps, there's leaks coming down walls, and things like that. So it's just got to the point where the Band-Aids are no longer going to be sufficient for us to have that safe building for our users, not just our netball users, but our very wide group of users that are using our facility. We do have tenants on board, which is the Wellington Softball Association. They aren't getting leaked on because they're on the bottom floor because it's a two-tiered building, but it is the problem upstairs, and we feel that we can't actually offer it to users for much longer with these leaks there because it's not a nice feel or fit, and it does provide that mould smell as well. So we will be going to other funders to support us with this re-roof because we just can't do it on our own. That's me, and if you've got any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Mark, thank you for that. Are there any questions, members? One question from Councillor Brown.
So how are you going with the rest of the funding?
We're going to be, we are going to talk to Lottos, and we're also talking with NZCT in regards to their support as well. And we're also going out to our life members and those members as well to see if they can sort of front up as well. So we're going out wide because we just need to. I mean, even with the funding that we've requested, we've still got quite a shortfall that we've got to cover. As an entity, we can put up to 60,000 towards this, and we'll dig deeper for more if we have to. It's just, it just has to be done, unfortunately. Or fortunately, I don't know which way you put it.
All right, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Matthew Buck and David Gates from St Patrick's College to be speaking to the same item. No mai haramai, you also have 10 minutes. Feel free to leave time at the end for questions.
Morena, good morning, Honourable Mayor and City Council members. My name's David Gates, I'm a board member on St Pat's College, and Matt Buck here is our business manager at the college. So as part of our request for supporting the funding for council, we've got the brief presentation, but can I just first acknowledge our thanks and acknowledgement to the council for their role in the successful partnership we've had to date. This program basically started in 2013 when the turf was first built, and it's been a huge community asset to the Wellington and to the eastern suburbs in particular, because it's the only turf facility out in the eastern suburbs. And the college is really keen for this partnership to continue, and we see this funding as a one-off investment that will provide 10 years benefit to, or hopefully even longer, 10 to 15 years benefit to the suburb. The next steps for us is the turf is 10 years old. So as you would expect, it no longer meets the various accreditation requirements, so we're at a point where we need to do the upgrade. The college is looking to commit to the latest standards. That's very similar to what happened at Wakefield Park and Wellington College, and that's close to about $1 million is the total cost for replacing the turf. But it also provides sustainable environmental benefits as it shifts away from that historical tyre rubber base turf that was previously used 10 years ago. And I'd like to highlight, this is a core community asset to the eastern suburbs. As shown on our slide, the field's utilised by a number of sports across the community in the winter and in the summer. And it takes a lot of pressure also off the council-owned grass fields. So it is really an important asset for the community as a whole. And I'm sure if you've ever travelled down Cobham Drive, you'll see it's used all hours of day at night. With the floodlights, there's people out there playing at 9:30 or 10 o'clock who have scheduled sports, and it's used in all weather. It amazes me that they're playing out there at 9:30 on a Tuesday night in the pouring rain in winter. So look, the college is really committed to continuing to have the field open to the community as a whole. It's used casually by a lot of other people as well outside of scheduled booking. So again, if you've driven past, you'll see people just in little groups or families training or doing the activity on the turf. So the college is committing to undertaking the replacement. It's needed, it has to be done, and we think it's a huge asset to the community. But happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions? One from Councillor Brown.
I'm actually surprised we're not contributing half, given the original contract. And I'm also surprised actually at the cost, because I remember my historic involvement with hockey was that like $1 million seemed to be a relatively modest cost for replacement of a turf to the standard. So has the cost come down, and why are you only asking us for a quarter of the cost rather than half of the cost?
Great question.
Yeah. Well, I think first and foremost, 12 years ago when it was built, it was about 1.8 million, but that included fencing. The ground that it was put on wasn't in great nick. Lighting was included in that. So all we're doing is to relay the turf. The rubber mat underneath has a 30-year warranty, so that's fine. To a certain point, there will be some little bits that need to be fixed, but then the turf is the only thing that we're fixing. So if you look at what they did at Wakefield, I think that came out on 2 fields at around $2 million. So we're 1 field at around that 1 million mark. I think it's about 955,000 or so. So the lights are fine. The lights continue to be really good. The fencing's fine, and the rubber mat underneath is fine. So it's just the turf itself, which is what we need to fix to bring it up to, again, international rugby and FIFA standards.
We had also around the funding, we were looking initially to request 250,000. We are going out to some of the other foundations as well, but we've put applications in but haven't heard anything. Indications given to us was that 150 was going to be the number that might be palatable or acceptable to the council.
So how do you think
We've put out applications to the Lions Foundation and the grants. I mean, they're going to be, I don't want to be rude, they'll be minuscule. They won't be big contributions. So at the moment, the college is looking at ways of trying to raise internally through its own parents and families funding.
We're also asking our alumni, we're old boys, we have a college foundation, and we're asking them to raise around 400,000 of the money through the alumni network. So that's where we expect to get the rest of the funding. Yeah. We're hoping to get the rest of the funding from. I think the other thing you've got to also bear in mind, with the hours that when the college doesn't have it and it's put over to our council partners and they book it, that money does come back into the college as well, so on a yearly basis. But that it costs around sort of 50,000 to maintain it a year as well. So those costs that are coming back from the bookers of the council, and you talk of the various partners that use it, that's really used for maintenance. But again, a little bit of that money will also go to the build as well. Yeah.
Thank you. We have a question from Councillor Chung.
Great, thanks so much. When you replace artificial turf, does it come in rolls where you just roll it out? So the whole field needs to be replaced, or is it just the parts that are actually worn?
It's the whole field. So in effect, we're moving away. So when Matt referred to the rubber base, there's the core base, but then there's what I call the next level, which is all the rubber tyre, and the actual turf. That no longer is meeting accreditation for football. Well, rugby, it's stopped meeting accreditation. It will stop meeting accreditation for football as of October this year. So you wouldn't actually be able to have organised sports on it after that date. So we have to replace the whole field, otherwise you get inconsistencies. And we're going with the latest technology, because otherwise you would end up half tyre base and half with the latest technology. So we're moving away from the tyre rubber, which again is environmental benefits, because if anyone's kids have played on it, they jump in the shower, there's a lot of black tyre turns up in your shower at the end of the day. So we're moving away from that as well.
Great, thanks very much.
I see no further questions. Thank you very much for coming in. Tēnā kōrua.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Councillors, we are still expecting one more speaker, so what we're going to do is adjourn now, take a brief morning tea, and we will return no later than 25 past, which is their scheduled speaking time. So please grab a snack now, and we'll return at 25 past. Thank you. Everybody. Next up, submitting on behalf of the Queen's Closet, we have Sharon Leheney and Gordon Leheney. Apologies if I pronounced that surname incorrectly. Nau mai, you have 10 minutes, including time for questions if you would like to leave that at the end.
Thank you. Tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today. Have you got our presentation, our PowerPoint?
Stand by. We're going to find it. Feel free to begin, and we'll bring it up as soon as we have it.
Sure. There's lots of pictures, so it would be really cool if we can find it. Gordon and I are co-founders of the Queen's Closet. Here we go. A 17th century musical company for the 21st century, by which we mean musicking that's rooted in the current scholarship of theory, history, equipment, and practice of the 17th century, while aiming to produce performances that are meaningful and engaging for today's audiences. So we're specialists on historical instruments, and as far as we're aware, we perform on the widest range of historical instruments, including singers of any original instrument ensemble in Aotearoa, from Renaissance to Baroque instruments. And we're diverse. Since our first performance in 2019, we've worked with more than 80 instrumentalists, singers, dancers, and actors, ranging in age from their teens to their 80s. Around a third of these people have been in their teens and 20s, around 8% Māori and Pacifica, and at least 11% Rainbow. Sorry, I'm not managing to advance this for some reason. There we go, thank you. We are historical, but we're also dynamic and alive. We have a broad appeal to a wide audience base, including children and young people, and we've received nominations for 3 NZ Fringe Awards since 2020. Our performance opening Orchestra Wellington's 2024 season a few weeks ago attracted their largest pre-concert audience ever, and our accessibility policy includes supporting neurodiverse and blind and low vision audience members. We also consider ourselves to be contemporary, so just some pictures showing you our recent performances in Cuba Dupa and Classical on Cuba, some of the new works that we created for those events. And we also have produced some major independent theatrical productions. So at the top, we've got some pictures from Cloverton and Lovin' and Wine, the new modern semi-opera that we created in collaboration with Dave Armstrong. And at the bottom, we have photos from our edition of the 1700 opera, The Judgment of Paris. We perform in unusual and unexpected and welcoming venues, including outreach into the community, which is something that our audiences tell us they particularly enjoy. And our audiences interact with us and with the music that we're performing, including dancing. So at the top here, we have a picture of some audience members dancing to a 17th century French chaconne. And at the bottom, a picture of sort of 50 or more people dancing in the aisles of Old St. Paul's to a 16th century French line dance. So we are unique in Aotearoa. We're scholar performers, and we provide our members with development and training, including providing instruments for them. And we're dedicated to the growth of the early music scene in Aotearoa. The school of practice that we've developed here in Pōneke is seen internationally as a centre of excellence and innovation in historical performance. So all of this makes us a unique and important part of Pōneke's and Aotearoa's wider music and performing arts scene, from classical to contemporary. And over the last 2 years in particular, we've developed artistic and academic collaborations which are underway now with organisations including Orchestra Wellington, RNZB, the Tudor Consort, NZSM, University of Canterbury School of Music, and St. Peter's Orchestra. We've also recently initiated discussions with the New Zealand School of Music about becoming a part of the National Music Centre. And we, over the years, we also provide coaching and performers to allow other ensembles and groups around Aotearoa to work with historical instruments and historical performance practices. So we have good community support as well. The marketing company Blue Star recently asked us to become a supporting partner to the Queen's Closet. They're a group that already partners with a number of well-established ensembles around Wellington and wider Aotearoa. Since 2019, we've also enjoyed additional support from a range of other Wellington businesses and other organisations. We have Play Market acting as agents for Cloverton in Lovin and Wine. And we've also attracted grants from a number of trusts in the community. So we are still growing. We're incredibly grateful to the City Council for the funding relationship that we've had with you since our inception in 2019. And we've done our best to repay your generosity by continuing to grow, innovate, and to perform regularly. Our membership has more than tripled in that time, and our concert attendance is higher than ever. Audiences see us in the same sort of light as Orchestra Wellington, NZSO, and RNZB, while also admiring how much we can achieve without the level of resource or infrastructure of those organisations. And we have lots more exciting projects planned for the remainder of this year and coming seasons. And we see ourselves as part of the creative fabric here. We don't just exist for Poneke, we exist because of Poneke. So looking ahead, we would like to request that the Queen's Closet be considered for multi-year funding in the next available round. Uncertainty of funding makes planning really difficult for us, and it can ultimately put our projects, including major theatrical productions and multi-year collaborations, at risk. It can also make it difficult for us to guarantee a competitive rate of pay to our performers in advance of projects, which in turn can make it difficult for them to commit to our projects. And relying on project-by-project funding can also fail to adequately cost for baseline functions of the ensemble, including training and development in historical practices, research and preparation of ancient manuscripts for performance, and creation of new works. So just to close with a quote from Mark Today, who's the musical director of Orchestra Wellington. He says, "The Queen's Closet exemplifies what a performing arts organisation can be: innovative, open to and supportive of collaborative initiatives with sister arts organisations, with a genuine focus on the engagement and nurturing of audiences." Kia ora.
Tēnā kōrua, thank you very much. Do we have any questions, members? One from Councillor Brown.
Sorry, this is probably a bit of a leading question, but it does seem to me that you're probably the most outreach, if you like, classical music organisation of Wellington. I mean, Wellington is extremely privileged with the amount of classical music that we have, but my own experience is that I seem to have seen you guys in a lot more places, all sorts of places, than anybody else. And I mean, why is that? Why am I so fortunate as to encounter you in the street of Cuba Street or in bars and restaurants and all sorts of weird places, which I don't seem to encounter the other guys?
I guess there's a couple of reasons. There's probably a couple of reasons in that we want to engage with here and now and with contemporary audiences, and that's where we find people. But also, our understanding of the music is that the music of this era, sort of 17th century, in London, wasn't a place for the privileged. Music was very popular then. It was a popular entertainment, and it would be in bars and in the street and in the pleasure gardens. That was where the music really was written to be performed. So the music works really well there, but also it is where we find our audience. So we specifically try and find places which are accessible to people who wouldn't necessarily come to classical concerts, who would think, Baroque music's kind of something kind of arty and not necessarily popular. So that's kind of why. So it's probably that sort of dual aspect.
Thank you very much. I'm seeing no further questions, so thank you very much for coming. Great to meet you.
Thank you.
Right, members, that concludes our public participation. Thank you very much to everyone who came in to submit. We are now to move to general business, which will begin with 2.1, the Arts and Culture Fund, for March 24. To introduce the report, we have Andy Lowe and Grace Hoyt there.
O tēnā tātou, e koe mai koroma, he raurangatira mā, i ngā mātāwaka, ngā paimanga, ngā waiawa, te motu, tēnā tātou. Ko tēnei te ringa o te tangata e noho nei ki raro i te marimaru o te arurua maunga. Te kāinga o ngā tini whetū, taranaki whānui, te atiawa ngā titoa. Tātou kia koutou katoa ngā kaunihira tēnā tātou. Well, kia ora everybody. Great to be here today. My name's Andy Lowe, City Arts Manager here at Council. I have with me Grace Hoiti, who's our amazing funding advisor, and also Katie Taylor-Duke, who's doing that as well. I'm really privileged to bring to you this paper today. We are really we're hoping to support so many more artists in the city through the Ahotini program, and it's really fantastic to see such a great variety in our final round of the Arts and Culture Fund for this year. As you know, that we're led by our Ahotini strategy, which means we've been working on broadening our support for our sector, including for Māori and other communities. As you know, we deliver multi-year funding to arts organisations spanning 3 years, and this is up for discussion at the end of this year, being the third year of the process. There are many organisations sitting in the wings waiting for this review and hoping to be included. Currently, our multi-year funding goes to 20 organisations of 1 million, which is a total of 1,898,692. And the criteria for multi-years are organisations that have demonstrable level of maturity, a sustained track record artistically and financially, a visible and engaged audience and or community base, considered sustainable in the long term and operating at scale and need certainty of funding for more than 1 year. And then they must deliver to all 4 of Ahotini priority areas. Today we're looking at the last round for the financial year of the Arts and Culture Fund. We have 3 rounds per year, which is a total of 602,733. 302,733 is from the General Arts and Culture Fund, 200,000 from independent artists, 100,000 from operational budgets, which also can be allocated to professional performing arts. In this round, we received 56 applications totaling 448,174, which is compared to 49 in the last round. The predominant genre was multi-art form, including film, which was 13, and 12 from music and theatre, 4 from arts festivals, craft and visual arts, and the remaining were ngātai Māori, literature, dance and Pacific arts. 20 applications aligned strongly with aho tangata, 29 aho mahi, 3 with aho whenua, and 4 with hononga. And we're recommending 176,281 go to 34 organisations and entities. Open for questions. Nō reira, tēnā tātou. Kia ora, everybody.
Thank you very much. Councillor Young.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, Andy and Grace. So I have 2 questions. Can I ask them both together, or do
Please.
Okay. So the first one is Theatre View. Do we have any idea of what the audience for Theatre View is? I mean, I know it's stepped in because there's so little reviewing by our one remaining newspaper. But do we have any idea what his audience reaches? It's John Smythe, isn't it?
That is, yeah. I mean, it's basically it's the only thing, as you know, and so people go to it from all organisations.
Yeah, it has a reach over 30,000 plus.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's primarily because it's online.
Yeah.
And they also do Auckland where they can, and so you get a wide audience, not just Wellington. But
does Auckland City Council, or whatever it's called these days, fund them too?
No, because they don't. They only do it if they're there. If John can get someone there, but not necessarily. No, only if it's a top production that he really wants to see. He'll fund himself to get up there.
Okay. So, so the second question is, thank you. So with the Heritage Week, which has gone from kind of nothing to being a major event in Wellington, so they've asked for 10, and you're recommending 5. Will that make it difficult for them to carry out their full program? Because the program gets bigger every year, doesn't it?
Absolutely. They say that it's not. That they're going to be able to do it within that amount. We're also going to work with them in the future for new concepts that they can add in. So I think they're open to that as well. So yeah.
Yes, and we have asked them to talk with mana whenua also around, and they are willing to. The interesting thing with the Heritage one is that the new application form within Flux, we've put a portion in there that says what will happen if you get partial funding or if you don't get funded, and they've been very clear that the project will still happen.
In the 17th, 16th century, people used to die of the flux, and every time I look at it, I think I might too, but it's a slightly different version of the disease, but thank you.
Very good. Councillor O'Neill.
Kia ora, thank you. Just following up on the pātai I asked the Tahi Festival, and to check, so they're not being funded the full amount, but her answer seemed to imply maybe the 3,600 was for 3 events or times 3? Just wanted to clarify because I got a bit confused there.
Yes, the application has got 3 different strands within it. One particular strand was supported for them to do, which is the hatch one. There's a couple of other strands where we want to talk to them about how they can bring other supporters, in particular some of the big festivals. They want to organise festivals to come together to talk, which is a fantastic idea, but it really needs the big brothers behind it to make that work. So we're going to meet with Sally later on and help us support that.
Okay, cool. Just checking sure.
The total amount recommended is the 3,000.
Yes.
Yeah, and Sally's aware of that. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then my other pātai through the chair is just around the Arts and Culture Fund in general, and I've had it raised in the last few months around the need for sober spaces and council funding for festivals that are in bars or those sorts of venues. So I just wondered, how does the Arts and Culture Funds kind of take that into account if we have extra awareness around events tied to alcohol or in bars and things?
It's often a very difficult one because, the alcohol industry does offer a lot of money towards the arts at times, but at the same time people are becoming very aware of it and are trying to create neutral lounges wherever they can. So they are aware of it and they are doing that. We do ask them to confirm their venue on applying, and most of those venues do have spaces where they can go. Other than you'll find the comedy ones, they might be in bars and things like that.
That's right. Yeah.
Thank you. He pātai anō? Anybody? Kaore? Sweet. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. I understand Mayor Whānau would like to move the motion. Will there be a seconder? Katsa Young. Will there be any debate? No? Would you like to introduce the...
Yes, very happy to. Thank you to our officers for these recommendations. It's quite heartening, and I'm loving seeing the diverse range of applicants that have been successful. I know, from Kiamo to the Latin America Festival right through to Youth Orchestra. I mean, this is the good stuff, and these organisations don't ask for much, but we know that they have a significant impact on their organisation, but as well as our city as well. This is at the moment unique to Wellington in terms of our support for the arts. In other cities, they're having to reduce that right down. So, look, this is something to be proud of for council. They certainly contribute to the vibrancy of the city, and look, may this long continue. Kia ora.
Thank you very much. Any further debate?
Yeah, kia ora. I would just like to thank our officers who go through all of these applications for funding. I'm glad it's them because I don't think I would be very good at it. But I guess while things are getting tighter, I know that more people will be coming to council for our support. And I just want to acknowledge that we have had to say no in this round to a few, but I do want to give a shout out to our staff and thank them for how they say no, and that I notice there's always an encouragement of more discussion on how we go forward to enable them in the future. So I just want to, thank them for the manaakitanga in this area. So kia ora.
Thank you. All right, I don't see any further debate. Would you like a right of reply, Mayor Whānau? In that case, I would like to now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please press 1. Those against, press 2. And that is carried. Thank you very much. We now move to the CH Izzard Bequest recommendations 2024 with Mark Farrar to introduce the report. No mic.
Kia ora, councillors. I'm here to introduce the CH Izzard Bequest. This is a thing that we do every year. This is a fund that is held by trustees at a solicitors company, and the council's been involved in making recommendations on the trust since the will was enacted in the 1950s, apparently. So we've had a long association with this. I'm advised that $20,000 is available this year from the investment, and we had 17 applications. So we run the process. Officers from our Connected Communities team have a look at applications, and we come to you with some recommendations. So, and the purpose of the fund is really around educational purpose and or targeting disadvantage in the community, and is confined to the City of Wellington. So it's a fund that we're able to make recommendations to you that perhaps sit outside some of the other funds that we manage here on behalf of council, and where particular groups can be supported through things that we wouldn't do normally. So we're recommending 7 groups be allocated funding. Some of those are quite small amounts, but we've worked through the applications and they're kind of realistic amounts for the projects. And I just would recommend that you take this as read, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Are there any? Oh, of course there are. Sorry. Councillor Young.
Thank you, Mark. I'm just curious why the Graham Dingle, which is, you know, a specifically tower thing, is getting the biggest grant, whereas things like the IHC or Mother Ober's, you know, Home Compassion are getting far smaller amounts. It just seems that when they are kind of citywide.
I mean, part of the assessment around that particular application was about some of the equity around how funding gets allocated in different parts of the city. So the Graham Dingle Foundation have been doing quite a bit of work in Tower College, and of course we do manage the Tower Community Grants Fund, but not a lot of activity happens up there. So officers just felt that this was a very strong project, delivering to education, fitted with the bequest, and they're an organisation delivering great programmes. So they've not had very much funding elsewhere across our different funding programmes. So
Okay.
that was the basis of that,
That's great.
really.
Thank you.
All right, with no further questions, thank you very much, Mark. Let us move into debate. Will there be a mover for this motion? Okay, let's move Councillor Young and second Councillor O'Neill. Would you like to debate? No. All right, anyone else? All right, thank you very much. Let's put that motion, which has been moved and seconded. Please vote now. And that has been carried. Let us now move to item 2.3, Social and Recreation Fund extending multi-year funding to June 25 for Vincent's Art Workshop and Wellington Time Bank. That will be Mark Farrar to introduce the report again.
Kia ora, councillors, me again. So this is a report recommending the funding for 2 organisations that were allocated funding for shorter terms than the rest of the funding cycle around the multi-year funding. So for 2 different reasons, really. So as you would have heard from, Newtown Community Centre operate the Time Bank project, and we didn't fund it for the full cycle because there were questions around them shifting to a new software platform and changing staffing, that kind of thing. So we're confident that they've sorted things out. They have stability, as you would have heard this morning from Erin, around their operations. So we're recommending the same level as funding as they were funded this year for next year. So of course, both of these are allocations from the 24-25 financial year, year 1 of the LTP. That assumes that everything goes through within the LTP and we still have the fund. And the other one is Vincent's Art Workshop, and our concern with Vincent's was around change of staffing, change of governance, some instability in the organisation. So we've been monitoring the organisation very closely and having regular meetings, and we have a relationship manager who's been fairly hands-on with them, and they've fixed, you know, they have some stability around a new manager, new governance, that kind of thing. So for both of these organisations, we're recommending for Vincent's what they applied for, and for Time Bank what they were funded this year, plus a small inflationary increase which we give to all these multi-year organisations. Just in terms of context, this is 2 of 49 organisations that are funded through the Social and Recreation Fund, and I know there's been some questions that we've responded to councillors about the level of funding we have tied up in these multi-year arrangements. Of course, the benefit for organisations, as you heard earlier, is that they have some certainty around what they're going to get coming in for the year. But of course, that total of the funding this year is about 3.9 million, so it's a fairly sizable chunk of funding. We are planning and have started a review of how that funding is allocated, and our aim is to come to you after you've dealt with the LTP later in the year to have a discussion with councillors around the apportionment of that funding. Of course, this is a group of organisations, for many, the funding's been there for a long time. So, it's difficult to make changes. So, so for these two today, we're just recommending extending for a year. And this time next year, should you all be here, and I'm here, we'll be having this discussion for this bigger list of organisations. So, that's to come in the future. So I'm happy to answer any questions, of course.
Thank you. We have a question from Councillor Young.
Oh, yeah. Just wondering or asking, when you're investigating and reporting, could you include in that the Queen's Closet? Because they're keen to go on the multi-year funding, and it would be helpful for you to look at them.
Yeah, councillors, as my colleague Andy mentioned earlier, the apportionment of funding across multi-years in the arts it's the same sort of challenge we've got, really. The more funding we have in multi-years, the less there is in the contestable, smaller amounts of funding, and of course the ability then to meet other things. So everybody wants permanent long-term funding, but the challenge is, in my opinion, having a little bit so you can respond to kind of things that come up. So that'll be a discussion we have with you later.
Deputy Mayor Finn.
Yeah. Mark, what is the plan to work with councillors on the grants committee, I'm sure, through this process, so that, is there a way we can be more involved rather than just having the papers at the end?
We're just planning that out at the moment, really, and subject to discussions with James and colleagues would be around doing some workshop around getting some guidance around how the cake's sliced up, because we've categorised into sectors so that we can get some high-level guidance from you. The idea being that by the time we get to October, we have the next time you meet is in early October, we have some direction, and then by the time we get to Christmas, we can communicate that to the organisations. And of course, the arts team in Creative Capital are planning a review of the Arts and Culture Fund as well at the same time. So for all these organisations, the 49 funded through social and the 22, I think it is at the moment, through the Arts and Culture, we can give some direction to them about where it's all going, so that by the time a report lands on this table in May next year, there'll have been some engagement with councillors. So that's the plan.
Thank you. And Pū Hohaya.
Kia ora, Mark. Just bear with me, I'm new to this, but if a group gets a multi-year funding arrangement, does that prevent them from getting subsequent funding, multi-year or otherwise?
So our cycle of funding has been 3 years typically. So, we go into those 3-year cycles.
Yeah.
For some of our funds, we exclude them from being able to come in more than once in the funding rounds, because the idea is it's the same pot of money. You'd be better off letting them know at the start of the year what they're going to get rather than them keep coming back in. But as you would have heard earlier, some organisations have particular projects or things they want to present, so the nature of that tends to be kind of episodic. They'll come back for different things. So it's kind of, it could do with some improvement and rationalisation, and I think that's part of the discussions we're having around that, the balance between the two, really.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no further questions, then thank you, Mark. Let us move to debate. Would anyone like to move this motion? I am happy to, as I was the amender of this particular substantive. Will there be a seconder? Thank you, Councillor O'Neill. I don't feel I need to add anything, just noting that there has been a slight amendment based on the explanation that was just given by Mr. Farrer. I am obviously supportive of the recommendations, and I would like to move this motion. Councillor O'Neill.
Just to briefly thank officers and the chair for working around understanding the multi-year funding, and I know it's something that we do each year at Grants as a few more people get added to the list, but I'm also keen to explore from an equity lens how we split up the pie and how ahotene has been given effect. Also, as time goes on, we evolve as an organisation, we gain new strategic outcomes, or maybe we'd like to pivot in certain areas, so I welcome the review coming next year.
Kia ora. I would also like to thank officers for the way that they have looked at these organisations individually and taken the time to work with them along and support their journey forward. I think it is a healthy process, and I can see that the bounce back just by having that support and is really important to both of them, who are both critical in our city, and what they do for our communities is very, very much part of our Welly institution. So just want to thank officers. It gives confidence as on the grants committee as well that we've got these systems going on in place. Kia ora.
Kia ora. Any further debate? Kaore. All right, in that case, I would like to put this motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please press 1. Those against, please press 2. Kwa mana. Right, we are now going to move on to item 2.4. That will be the Sportville Partnership Fund. Please welcome Sanjay Patel to introduce the report. And company. And Jacqueline Murray.
Kia ora koutou. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge and thank our 3 organisations that came and submitted this morning. It's not easy presenting to you guys sometimes, so thank you to them for coming along. The Sportville Partnership Fund is a multi-purpose fund for facilities that have regional or national significance, primarily for multi-purpose sporting facilities. And as you would have heard this morning, all 3 of those organisations have a wide-reaching base for sport as well as community. Today we're recommending $150,000 towards St Pat's College, that's towards their renewal of their artificial turf, $150K towards Wellington Netball Centre for the replacement of their roof, and $88K towards Wellington North Badminton Incorporated towards the replacement and repairs of their roof. All 3 organisations, as you heard this morning, are well run with great governance, and we've been working with them for the past sort of 6 months towards their application process. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you for that. He pātai a koutou. One from Councillor Brown.
I guess I just have one question about the St Pat's. I mean, I have no problem at all about providing the funding, but when I was involved with hockey, hockey was accumulating a sinking fund over the course of the expected life of the turfs. This is up in the National Hockey Stadium. So that by the time they got through to the end, they had effectively kind of pre-funded it, so that, in other words, they funded depreciation. But with a turf like this, which obviously there is an element of charge, some people do pay to actually use it and whatnot. And I mean, I think it was mentioned that charge tends to go into maintenance. But do we try and actually put pressure on the people who are running the turf, I guess the school in this case, to actually fund depreciation, or do we just let them get on with it, and then at the end of the, turn up at the bottom of the cliff, which is, I guess, in some ways what this situation actually is here, where they haven't got, pre-organised funding for the replacement. At least that's my understanding from what they said.
Without knowing all the details, my understanding is that St Pat's do have some reserves that they have put aside to fund the turf, and obviously there's a gap between the amount of reserves that they have and the requirement to actually the cost of renewing the turf. Hence, us also being in a partnership with them, and we do have public hours that we utilise on the turf, then our contribution to continue to run and use that turf for the public would be the contribution that would help them get across the line to do the renewal.
I don't want to sort of belabor the point, but so in other words, that is part of the reason why we're doing far less than, yeah, gotcha.
Yes, correct. That was part of the original funding agreement.
He pātai anō? All right, in that case, thank you very much. Tēnā korua, let's move to debate. Councillor Brown, would you like to move this motion? And would anyone else like to second? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foon. Councillor Brown, would you like to speak?
No, I'm delighted to see this funding provided. I think it all looks terribly useful and of great value.
Great. Deputy Mayor Foon?
Yes, I too. I was never excited about this fund, but I am seeing really how I'm really seeing today that the benefits and hearing about these buildings and the multi-purpose that they're putting into communities was impressive. But why I wanted to speak was I did hear about, I'm really pleased to hear that Wellington Netball Centre is applying for this fund, and also the North Badminton Association. I'm hearing through an architect's hui recently, or conference, that with the impact of climate change and storms and winds, roofs are going to be one of the most hardest hit. So if you need to redo your roof, that is for all of our buildings as well, now is the time. So really happy to fund this. Kia ora.
Thank you very much. He kōrero anō. All right, in that case, I put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Everyone please press 1 in favour or 2 to oppose. And that has passed, been carried, what have you. All right, let us now move on to item 2.5, which is the Climate and Sustainability Fund for March 24. Please welcome Raven Meder and Jamila Rothstein to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. You've got me instead of Jamuna because she's not available today. So this is the Climate and Sustainability Fund. This is the second round for the year. We allocated the bulk of the fund in the last round, but we still had just under 80,000 available in the fund for this round. We had 6 applications. We recommend funding 5 of them. The details are all in the report, so I won't repeat them, but they are all options that we are really excited about and happy to answer any questions you have about them.
I actually had one question. What was the total amount recommended for funding for this financial year?
Sorry. So we are recommending funding a total of, sorry, let me just get the exact dollar figure, but it's just under the full amount, so 76,977, which is just short of the 78,573, which is available to allocate. Oh, 250,000.
Thank you. And all of that has been...
Yes, it'll be, if our recommendations are approved today, then it will almost all have been fully allocated.
Fantastic, thank you. Any further questions? You don't have to answer that, Raven. Yes. Sure, yes.
You know, some of us expressed concerns about the Creative HQ kind of, getting funding through Wellington NZ and us. But just wondering, so looking at their website, they talk about the founders and all the businesses that have started there. Do any of them come back as kind of alumni to help fund the organisation? Do we know that?
I don't know that any of them come back to fund, but they do all contribute to the economic viability of Wellington, including Switched On Bikes down at the waterfront, Mevo, who run a successful car share business. These are organisations that were supported, got their start out of the sorts of processes that Creative HQ run and that we have funded in the past, so the Zero Carbon Challenge, the Low Carbon Challenge. So I'm quite excited by this Clean Tech Summit because it's an opportunity to highlight what is so amazing about how innovative Wellington businesses can be and to have that conversation be in Wellington. So it's a pretty cool thing for us to be supporting.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions? All right, if there are none, thank you very much. We will move to debate. Is there a mover for this motion? Deputy Mayor Foon. Is there a seconder? Mayor Whānau. Deputy Mayor Foon, would you like to speak?
I'm going to curtail my excited language and I think, thank you, Ms. Howard, for bringing up the innovation that Wellington City Council had, and dare I say it, won awards for things like the Zero Carbon Challenge, which have sparked many of the businesses that we have today. And to add to that list is Flamingo, No Car Cargo, and many others that are now fixtures on in the Wellington sustainability business scene. So I am really excited to see Creative HQ come up with this Clean Tech Summit. And as our economic optimism is waning through the job losses at our big house down the road, this is the opportunity for Wellington, is to lean into our tech community and bring those excellently skilled workers over into the private sector that are helping solve some of our world's biggest problems. So this is what we should be funding. Personally, I'd like to see more of it, and we'll be advocating to see more of it. I also just want to thank the team for answering the questions regarding Rebicycle Charitable Trust on the e-bike library, and note that 46% was the uptake in the last round, and so really looking forward to see more people being able to trial this in a way that doesn't impact them, especially some of our more socially vulnerable communities, as it is a great way to move around the city independently. So thanks for the mahi here. Oh, and also just going to get excited. I know it's hard, you have to bear with me. The Kai Cycle project, working on our Māori food sovereignty, is a really big opportunity, so I was really excited to see this come through too. So yeah, kia ora, and very happy to move and support this paper.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Foon. Mayor Whānau, would you like to speak? Would anyone else like to speak? All right, in that case, let us move to the vote. Those in favour, press 1. Those against, press 2. The motion is carried. All right. Members, let us now move to 2.6, the waste minimum, correction, 2.7, I would presume, which is the heritage resilience. No, I was right in the first instance. It is 2.6, but 2.6 is the Waste Minimisation Seed Fund, 23. Please welcome Joanna Langford and Jenny Elliott to introduce the report. I'm being defeated by double-sided paper today.
Tēnā koutou katoa. He apiananga ka whakawhaiti para ahau ki te kanihira o Pōnaki, ko Joanna Langford taku ingoa, and I'm joined by Jenny Elliott, Waste Operations Manager. So through the Zero Waste Strategy and Waste Minimisation and Management Plan, we're looking to achieve intergenerational sustainability through a move to circular economy and zero waste. To achieve this important and ambitious goal, we need change at every level. And we need innovation and action from business and community. The Waste Minimisation Seed Fund is set up to help enable this. The Organics Diversion Fund was established as an interim initiative while larger scale solutions are being explored and resolved, such as sludge and organics collection. The criteria is looking for projects from businesses and community that will offer immediate and tangible reduction of organic waste to landfill. There's 100,000 available, and this year we received 3 applications requesting just over 280,000. The projects were weighed up against our fund criteria, that is in line with the waste hierarchy, so preferring prevention and reuse over recycling and composting, with consideration given to projects that can offer solutions at scale. I'll take the report as read and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions, members? One from Deputy Mayor Finn.
Yeah. Kia ora, Joe. Thank you. I know this is in the Q&A, and on that, can we table that Q&A? I think it's really important to be able to do that. So I am just going to ask the question. We are giving a good amount of funding to a private business organisation, and I just want to just ask again why, 2 questions, why we feel that it's important to give this funding to this organisation, say over a private organisation that can fund itself, and then the second one, just the difference between why we've given more to Brewell Limited over the Sport and Fishing Incorporated project. Kia ora.
Yeah, so the Brewell project is, there's a lot of waste coming from one business, and we are funding the initiative, the waste minimisation initiative, rather than the business. It's not a money-making enterprise that we're funding, we think there's really good diversion and there's opportunity for them to showcase and to share their learnings with the other 10 local breweries. So we think it's a very good project, and it's really consistent and very measurable flow of organics that are going to be diverted. So that's why we are recommending the majority of money to that project. Kaika, so we're just we're recommending like a partial funding, and so that there'd be some money that we can also support the Kaika project, because we think this is a really valuable project. It's diverting edible food from landfill and sharing it with the community. There were aspects to the project that didn't really fit with the criteria, in that there was an aspect that was a can recycling project, and also some of the initiatives were more regional than benefiting the WCC area.
Just while we're on this topic, I did have a question. Could it be a requirement of the funding, or a condition of the funding, for them to go on to share their takeaways with the other breweries after the project is complete?
Yeah, we can add that as a condition, but they have said that they will share the information.
Great, just like to see that benefit distributed a little more widely. Awesome, thank you. We have a question from Poiui Hohaya.
Kia ora, kōrua. I suppose I'm just trying to get my head around how this will work, and this fund would work in, depending on what we agree to in the LTP. Is there any thought being given to just what might happen to the fund if the organics LTP decisions are, signed off?
Did you want to answer that one?
Yep, I'll jump in on that one. So the Organics Diversion Fund was, as Joe said, it was set up 3 years ago. It was set up at that stage just to run for 3 years, basically as an interim solution while we were looking at what that bigger picture is. So at this stage, this is the last year that the fund will run as is. But with the adoption of our zero waste strategy last year, and now the recent adoption of the WMMP, there is an action on officers that will be reviewing our waste minimisation seed funding as a whole and seeing how it fits for the future.
All right, any further questions? Kaore. Okay, in that case, thank you very much indeed. Let's move to debate. Is there a mover for this motion, Deputy Mayor Foon? Is there a seconder? Councillor Young. Deputy Mayor Foon.
Yeah, kia ora, and yeah, thanks team for bringing this mahi, and what I would like to say about the Brewell Limited Fund is that I am aware that all of the Wellington breweries have been working together for over the last 3 years to try and come up with solutions to their waste, and their organic waste in particular. So I think it's something that Wellington businesses do really well. We're really good at collaborating and finding solutions together. So if we can get a solution that is open sourced, I think that is right, that we will make that part of the condition, and actually globally open sourced would be really good, that at any point someone can find that outcome of the project that they've been working on. And that will also help other sectors work together to find common solutions. So I'm really pleased to see this fund going towards these diverse initiatives, and I think the Kai Ika one, I've been hearing about this, particularly Porirua. I think there's a lot of mahi in this space there, so it'll be really great to see the Pōneke end really bringing something into this initiative as well. So yeah, just thank the team for their mahi, and look forward to seeing the communications coming through our channels. Awesome.
Thank you, Councillor Young. Anyone else? Kaore? In that case, let us move to the motion, which I will now put. Please vote 1 if you are in favour and 2 against. I declare the motion carried. If the meeting would like, shall we take a 5-minute bathroom break? Yes? All right. We are adjourned. Please come back in 5 minutes. we're resumed. We are now going to move to item 2.7, Heritage Resilience and Regeneration Fund. Please welcome Noel Lutzi and Mark Lindsay to introduce their report.
Morena koutou. Morning, councillors. My name is Mark Lindsay. I'm the Cultural Heritage Manager for the council, and this is my colleague, Noel Lizzie. By way of introduction to this paper, this is a noting paper for the Grants Subcommittee. Council officers have council delegation to approve funding within this program of up to $100,000. The fund itself is not a demand-driven fund. It's not publicly contestable. That was a strategic shift we made with the fund some 2 years ago. The fund is a strategically targeted fund, and the purpose is to strengthen, adapt, and sustainably use district plan listed heritage buildings, to support council's priorities for earthquake strengthening in the resilience program, and to align this funding with other council investments in infrastructure development, urban and commercial regeneration. It is the only funding available for owners of earthquake-prone buildings. Therefore, it's an important mechanism for achieving seismic safety across the city. This year, we'll be making 13 grants totaling some $644,600. The fund is has an annual allocation of $500,000. Each year, we do receive funding returned from some of the previous rounds, and this is just due to the nature of the complexity of strengthening and the capital works involved in earthquake-prone buildings across the city. We're recommending that we will be investing in 10 earthquake-prone heritage buildings. This will be 8 detailed seismic assessments and detailed design works and 2 capital project investments. There will be 3 heritage building conservation grants made, and this is for the Fortuna Chapel, for the Logan Campbell building in Cuba Street, and for the Star Boating Club. There are 4 areas targeted across the city for this funding. The Courtney Place Heritage Area, and this is so that these grants can align with Council's other priorities for public safety, transformation and beautification of Courtney Place. The Cuba Street Heritage Area, where there are a number of earthquake-prone buildings, and there'll be 3 grants made in that area, 2 grants in Courtney Place. The Newtown Heritage Area, there's a concentration of buildings with earthquake-prone notices pending in that area. 4 grants will be made there, and 1 grant will be made in the Vivian Street area for work that is underway on the earthquake strengthening of 1 building there. So I'm happy to take any questions on the paper, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Will there be any questions? Oh, I have one from Councillor Young.
Thank you, Mark. So just a couple of questions. I don't quite understand when you say the fund is no longer publicly contestable. So you mean in the old days, public could have a battle as to who got the money?
Yes. So under the predecessor to this, to the Heritage Regeneration and Resilience Fund, the Built Heritage Investment Fund we opened the fund for contestable funding for public submissions into that fund, and we assessed them against the criteria for the fund. What we found with that fund was there were a number of distortions came out of that. It tended to be buildings that the owners were more familiar with the funding programs within council, and they were disproportionately advantaged by their knowledge of how funding programs worked. But also we weren't achieving the alignment with the fund that we'd hoped to, and so by strategically targeting this fund, we can align it with the council's wider resilience program and target clusters of buildings in areas of high priority public safety, and as I say, where other investments are occurring to get joined up effects, so a more joined up set of outcomes that can be achieved.
So you go to the building owners?
Yes.
Or
yes.
because you know which ones are seismically prone?
Yes.
So then you go to them?
Yes. It's a case management approach that we take now. We know all of the earthquake-prone buildings in the city. We know them well, and we work with the resilience team very closely in determining what those priorities are.
So is that why? So in Ridderford Street, I see there are a whole lot of buildings, well, about 4, all basically in a row.
Yes.
That's because it's not necessarily the same owner. It's just that they were in a cluster.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. And we hope to get joined up effects. We do work closely with the owners. Increasingly over time, we will be encouraging those owners to work together to get economies of scale with engineering works, with the seismic assessment, investigations and so on.
Sounds really sensible. It's good. So one other question. I'm actually just wondering how familiar the committee is with Fortuna, because it's such an amazing building and it's kind of tucked away in Karori, and I just wonder whether sometimes you could suggest that buildings that we should go and have a look at.
We would be very happy to arrange a visit with the Friends of Fortuna Chapel if councillors were interested in that. It is
Be good about asking us, but I mean, it's just, yeah. And then the other one I was going to ask you about is, no, those are my questions.
Deputy Mayor Finn.
Yeah, kia ora, and thank you for this mahi. 2 questions, just in a personal level, do you feel like this more targeted or case management approach is working more favourably to align with council's goals?
Yes, it is. It is because it enables us to more specifically target those buildings which are most in need and where the building owners need the support.
Yep.
One of the criteria for the fund is that these projects are unlikely to occur without the benefit of this funding.
Yeah.
So we can be much more specific about working very closely with those building owners.
Great, cool. So then the next one is Newtown specific, and it's, I don't know the name of it, but the building that's been fire damaged just on the corner of Ridderford and Rintole. Yeah. It's just such a dead zone in a high energy place. It's in the papers, but it says invitation declined. So yeah, so no engagement from the owner. They don't want to know.
Yeah, we proactively approach the owners, and we will go to them on a number of occasions, reminding them that the fund is available, and we get a variety of responses. And if they just don't respond, which we do get, irrespective of our desire to work with them as a priority building, then there's not much we can do about that. They have to be willing to be actively funding the earthquake-prone building deadlines that they are required to meet under the Building Act.
Yeah, and so with that example, I guess, just do they have to give a reason, or do they just decline, or what is? Yeah,
we get a variety of responses. Sometimes it's just no response whatsoever. Some owners find that they will uplift a grant and then they're not actually in a position to invest further within it, and that's always disappointing for us, but there's only so much that we can do in terms of incentivising their behaviour. But we don't lose track of them, and we can approach them in subsequent years, and we do that.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. And we've got a good inventory, so just in case there's, I don't know, earthquake damage, fire damage, anything like that, we're well aware of all these buildings now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We actively case manage them.
Great. Thank you.
All right, and we have a follow-up question from Councillor Young.
So, thank you. When you say if they uplift the money and then they don't do the work, do we get the money back?
Yes.
Always?
They only the grantors are quitted on final receipt and inspection of the building when it's done. So the works have to be done before they actually get the grant. They accept the grant, but they don't uplift the money until the work is done to our satisfaction.
Good. And
until they meet the
just one more
conditions.
following up on the Deputy Mayor's question about that burnt-out building, which must be 10 years or something.
I'm trying to place which building it is.
It was on screen briefly.
Sorry.
This one. It's on screen now.
This one here?
Okay. Could we zoom in any further?
I'll ask Noel to respond to that. He was involved in the detailed discussions.
So the question about it is, if the council, I mean, it might not be quite your department, but the council's proposing to bring in a rates hike on derelict land or whatever, would this come under that? Sean looks like he knows the answer.
So we would need to provide advice to you once I've read the criteria of that change to the rating system.
I'd be really interested in that. Thank you. I think others might be. Yeah.
All right, any further questions? No? Thank you very much, you two. In that case, we'll move on to debate. Will there be a mover for the motion? Councillor Young, and a seconder? Deputy Mefun. All right, Councillor Young, would you like to speak?
No, other than to thank the officers, but also for the little pictorials that come with it, because I find them really helpful.
Very helpful.
So thank you. But the other thing is the one on Cuba Street might be easier to know if we knew it was Logan Brown. And did you know that when it was a bank, a national bank, it had the highest cash deposits of any bank in New Zealand because of the rather nefarious occupations of some of the people in the area?
Thank you for that excellent piece of history. Deputy Mefun.
Can't top that bit of history, actually. But yeah, I just want to express the challenge, just particularly for Newtown, other businesses who are really trying to uplift the area, and this particular one, which I'm thankful for officers reaching out to, is really leading down the whole area in such a busy corner with public transport and a great opportunity to revitalise the business community, and it's just dead and burnt and there's nothing going on. So I must say that, yes, I just want to publicly emphasise that we are very interested in the bringing in the derelict land tax for derelict buildings as well. Thank you. Interested to understand it better anyway. Kia ora.
Thank you. Is there any further debate? Nope. All right, in that case, let us move to the vote. I would like to now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Those in favour, please press 1. Those against, please press 2. Aira kua mana. All right, we would like to invite everyone to join me on this journey to our final item of the agenda, which is 2.7, that is Actions Tracking and Forward Program. Please welcome James Roberts to introduce the report. Surprise.
Kia ora, thank you, Chair. Can we take the paper as read?
We can.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? No. I will move the motion. Do I have a seconder? Councillor O'Neill, thank you. Is there any debate? No. I would like to now put the motion, which has been moved and seconded. Please vote now. All right. Komis te hui. I would like everyone to please join me in saying the finishing karakia, unihia, unihia, unihia ki te kia wātea, kia I te arata. Whakaire ake. Kia wātea, aira. Thank you very much, everyone. We're adjourned.